Welcome to our Pilgrimage of Hope, where we prepare for Jubilee 2025. On our last edition, we explored the topic of holy doors, and Father Don went into a teaching explaining to us the difference between the holy doors and the Jubilee doors. The holy doors are being opened in Rome at San Pietro, St. Peter's Basilica, the Archbasilica of St. John Lateran, the Basilica of St. Mary Major, the Basilica of St. Paul outside the walls, and a fifth door will be open at one of the prisons, because Pope Francis would like to extend mercy to the prisoners as well, and that prison is still to be named. Jubilee doors will be opened in cathedrals throughout archdioceses throughout the world. Right here in Trinidad, it will be at our Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception in Port of Spain. In tonight's show, we are talking about plenary indulgences. And as usual, we want to go to the persons on the ground, persons in the parishes, just to hear what their thoughts are about plenary indulgences.
Since it's a Jubilee year, I believe that God can fulfill that inner need or desire or indulgence that you want, that can help you yourself to create a sense of more hope within you as an individual, and more hope within you, so you yourself can be that hope to others.
I believe it's, let me get the right words, it's, I think, some sort of divine forgiveness, absolution.
Plenary indulgences. I'm not too sure what it means, but I think it has to go together with the theme of pilgrimages of hope, and I think it ties well together.
Years ago, in the year of mercy, there were special indulgences given if you went to various basilicas. And every time you went to a basilica in the year of mercy and did certain things like confession and received the Eucharist, participated in a liturgy, you were able to then get a plenary indulgence for one of your souls of your family to be freed from purgatory. And I had taken a pilgrimage to Poland that year, and we were able to release our family's souls from purgatory. And it's a very, very powerful and real thing. And I'm just waiting to hear, well, I know it's going through the door. We will have a lot of plenary indulgences, but I'm waiting to hear what the Pope will also proclaim and bind on earth to be bound in heaven for us, the laity, the other things that he will ask God for us on our behalf.
To me, we sin every day of our lives, and to know that through confession, to know that our sins will be washed, will be wiped clean, new slate, it brings as well a sense of hope that a clean slate means you can start over.
Joining us again on set, we have the same group of interesting people as our last edition. We want to ask them to reintroduce themselves to our viewers and any new viewers that we might have tonight.
Hello everyone, my name is Ayana Walters from the Santa Rosa Malabar cluster in Arima.
I'm Diane Bertrand from the Shrine of Our Lady of Montserrat in Tortuga.
Katia and Martin Jones, St. Francis of Assisi, Sangre Grande.
Damian Harris from Santa Rosa Malabar cluster.
As mentioned before, tonight we are talking about plenary indulgences. A very new topic to many. Some persons are quite confused about this topic, so we want to turn over to Father Don to add some insight.
The opening of the holy doors of cathedrals and co-cathedrals worldwide is equivalent to the Hebrews people blowing the ram's horn to announce the start of the Jubilee year in Leviticus 25. The holy doors are sacramentals that point and lead the people into the sacred space of Mother Church, the sacred heart of Mother Church, signifying the heart of a lavish God who wishes to dispense indulgence or mercy. The word indulgent means an over-readiness to be generous to, lenient, or merciful to someone. Pope Francis writes, "The indulgence is a way of discovering the unlimited nature of God's mercy." The terms mercy and indulgence were interchangeably as expressions of the fullness of God's forgiveness, which knows no boundaries. In the Gospel of Luke, an alternate word for indulgence is prodigal, meaning lavish. The Father lavishly loves his Son with mercy despite his sinfulness. When pilgrims of hope enter through the holy doors, they enter the heart of a lavish or prodigal God who dispenses mercy, who dispenses indulgence. In this reflection, I use the parable of the prodigal father in Luke's Gospel, chapter 15, as an interpretive lens of the Church's teachings on indulgence during the Jubilee year. From the scriptural perspective, the purpose of the Hebrew Jubilee year is to renew people's relationship with God, their relationship with their neighbor and nature, by using the sabbatical rest to remember that we are created equally in God's eyes and that everything ultimately belongs to God. In the parable of the prodigal father, the son separates himself from the father, indicating his independence, indicating his self-sufficiency. Separated from the father in whom he lives, moves, and exists, the son feels the negative impact of this separation. He feels lifeless. He feels purposelessness and painfully cries out, "Here I am starving to death." The residual effect on him is a stain on his heart. It's a broken heart. And so Pope Francis tells us, in our humanity, weak and attracted by evil, certain residual effects of sin remains. When the son returns home and enters through the door of the father's heart, the father lavishly or prodigally dispenses indulgence or mercy. The father's action purifies the effects or the stain of his son's heart. In the parable, the writer of Luke's gospel implies that the father patiently waits for his son's return, according to chapter 15, verse 20 of Luke's gospel. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. All holy doors are signs of the extravagant, lavish, indulgent God waiting for pilgrims of hope to enter. When pilgrims of hope enter the holy doors, they will encounter and experience within the sacred spaces of the mother churches a God who anxiously runs to, throws his arms around them, and kisses them. Pilgrims of hope will experience God's indulgence in the celebration of the sacrament of reconciliation. In the sacrament, pilgrims of hope will have the opportunity to say to God, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and earth." Pilgrims of hope will encounter an indulgent God who says, "Bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate." And so in the sacrament of reconciliation, Pope Francis reminds us in a very beautiful and a very profound way, Pope Francis reminds us, we experience those powerful and comforting words of the psalmist. It is he who forgives all your guilt, who heals every one of your ills, who redeems your life from the grave, who crowns you with love and compassion. The Lord is compassion and love, slow to anger and rich in mercy. He does not treat us according to our sins, nor repay us according to our faults. For as the heavens are high above the earth, so strong is his love for those who fear him. As far as the east is from the west, so far does he remove our sins. In Psalms 103. How can pilgrims of hope experience God's indulgence during the Jubilee year? First, pilgrims can undertake pilgrimage to the Jubilee sites in Rome, the Holy Land, or cathedrals or co-cathedrals of their dioceses. 2, pilgrims can visit sacred places in their respective countries or abroad. 3, pilgrims can undertake works of mercy and celebrate the sacrament of reconciliation. In closing, I leave with you the very profound and incredible words of Pope Francis for your contemplation. And Pope Francis tells us, the experience of full forgiveness cannot fail to open our hearts and minds to the need to forgive others in turn. Forgiveness does not change the past. It cannot change what happened in the past. Yet it can allow us to change the future and to live different lives, free of anger, animosity, and vindictiveness. Forgiveness makes possible a brighter future, which enables us to look at the past with different eyes, now more serene, albeit still bearing the trace of past tears. At the end of the Jubilee, it is hope that the experience of indulgence will inspire and empower pilgrims to exercise mercy and forgiveness to others in their neighborhood, in their homes, at their workplace, and the wider society.
When pilgrims of hope pass through or enter through the holy doors, they enter into the lavish mercy of a loving Father. The opportunity to receive total and full forgiveness and mercy is an incredible thought.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What do you feel about that? What do you think about that?
I think it's a humbling experience.
Yeah.
For me, it's humbling, knowing that God in his mercy just willing to just forgive us for all the things that we would have done. You know, so I think it's just such a humbling experience to get, to experience, yeah.
And it's almost very difficult to wrap our bird brains around this whole vastness of God's mercy, the unfathomable nature of God's mercy. I mean, even in our daily interactions with each other, we think, you see that person, I can't forgive them, you know, because they did this and they did that, and you have the long grocery list. And when in the scheme of things that God could say He could forgive us anything, you know, it is just totally amazing.
Yeah, I agree. It's something I can't really wrap my mind around, but I'm grateful that it exists and that I have the opportunity when the time comes around to access those indulgences.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a Bible passage. What am I to God? You know, it makes me think about my very existence, my value here on earth, and that if it is that God can forgive me, which are so many things I try to forgive, I can't even forgive myself, things that I can't even forget, that those things that locked away in that tomb, that dark place, that He could forgive all them things. Man, if I could have a spectacle of that, it will be easier to forgive people. I sure. But it's hard. It's hard. As much as it sounds wonderful and you are in awe and it's yes, you could get all kind of thing is work forgiveness. Work forgiveness is one of the hardest things for me. Let me not speak for nobody else. I can't. For me, weighs me down. And even though when I think I'm able to forgive or forget, and when you remember, I feel like I haven't forgiven. And that for me is a challenge. And if God is, I know, God is telling me, I don't know, but he's saying, God, you're sure, right? God, you're sure? But I want to go to Rome. I don't feel traitor. I don't feel it have enough forgiveness for me traitor. I want to go to Rome. No, I serious like a heart attack. I have plenty. God, I just want to spare my life and forgive me. But in the process of that, no, you all are laughing, I see you, sir.
Yeah.
In the process of that, I'm trying, firstly, to open myself to God's forgiveness. Because the forgiveness there, we know it. Opening yourself to it is a different thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? That mercy, that you know what I mean? It's easier said than done. You know what I mean? It's easier. Like, I would have heard a story about, just allow me.
Yes.
Napoleon. We all know Napoleon, right? That war general from back.
Bonaparte.
Soldiers used to run away under his charge. And once he caught them, he would execute them. And one day, one of the soldiers ran away. And when the mother of that soldier heard what had happened, he was going to be executed, she went to plead with Napoleon. Napoleon, of course, being this store, right? Napoleon said, hey, the rules, there's no mercy. The mother said, mercy is not mercy or mercy is only mercy when it is undeserving. And every time I think about that, I mean, we like to give mercy because we think it's deserving or on our terms. If mercy is only mercy when it is undeserving, I don't deserve God's mercy. I don't think so. Yeah. And so just that alone, like my word, I still want to go to Rome. Yeah. Looking for donations.
It's somewhat of a mind-blowing concept when you think about it. And to quote Brother Kyle Dardine, mercy given is mercy received. And Father Don was kind of just expounding on that. And going through the door and experiencing the indulgence and the merciful mercy and love of God is one thing. But the idea is not just for that to happen in the moment, but also for our lives to be transformed and to become those same doors of mercy for other people in our lives. And when you think about it, we have a lot of opportunities each day to exemplify these acts of mercy. You know, you're driving on the road, somebody give you a bad drive.
That's number one. That's number one.
Change the topic. It's not going
number one on the list.
Yeah, people that are owing you money and
nobody either.
Yeah, there's a lot of areas that you know lives practically that mercy can show up and that we struggle with. So how do you reconcile that now? Because you might be excited to experience these plenary indulgences and the mercy and the lavish love of God in your lives. You might be excited for that, but how do you reconcile that, knowing that after receiving these graces and these indulgences, that the expectation is for you now to become that door of mercy for others? How do you reconcile that within yourselves?
So one thing kind of stuck with me. In the story, the popular story of the prodigal son and the father, I like to think of myself as that same prodigal son. But you know what? I think I'm more like the brother. The one who refused to forgive. Right. The one who stays outside. The one who don't want to partake. The one who believes that have the entitlement because I stayed. And even seeing the love of my father towards the other. You know what I mean? That draws a level of separation, that kind of thing. I'm thinking of more like, rather than, I've done the prodigal son thing already. Yeah, I've been there. But I think now I'm like the brother, who the focus is not on him, really and truly, but his part on that whole stuff is profound.
But I think as we go through our spiritual journeys, we switch characters in that story. Because as we mature, as life forms us, as we become closer to God, I think the ultimate journey for us is to arrive at the prodigal father. But at varying times in our lives. We are the one who ran away and was debauchery in the cities, or we are the brother outside who refuses to, he stayed, but he stayed in a very selfish and conditional way. And, you know, so we switch characters in this story.
Yeah.
And,
Interestingly, I never thought about being the father in that story. I only thought about the two characters.
Yeah.
So this Jubilee year is like an opportunity for us to try to give that mercy to others as well. So while we will be able to receive it, we should think about how we can do that in our daily lives for others who we encounter.
And I think too, if we remember the love of God, because that is the, as he asked the question, how are we to do that to others? How are we to give that mercy? We have to remember that the love that God gave to us, and we have to give that back. Yes, they could hurt us, because we all go through so much hurt and struggles and pain with other people, because people is people and life is life, and we'll always encounter. We don't take abuse of it, but what we do is reach out. You must be able to reach out and give that love and give that assurance that, listen, hey, let bygones be bygones, and let us move forward, you know. And you know, sometimes when you do that, in the end, somebody would say, after maybe some years, they might come back and say, hey, you know, as you refer to it, I owe you this.
yes.
You know, you gave me this, you let me off the hook, you gave me that free pass. You know, and then you know, could say, keep that, because it happened already. You know, that we already made that peace. So once you can definitely make that peace with the person or with others, you know, you would be given back the mercy that you received.
Yeah.
But you know, Matthew, one of the things I found in this whole concept of going through the doors, I don't think that we should only just go through the doors and think that, well, the slate will be wiped clean because the church has proclaimed it and it is done. But I think we too must also go to confession.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I find confession is the fountain of mercy. And when we go to confession and then we support it with going through the doors, we are also in confession admitting that we are sinful and that we need mercy.
In fact, Don said that.
And as a result,
the act of reconciliation.
Then, so then, so it's not, as I said, magical, but I feel the confession will really support the whole prayer journey and also the cleansing journey. And
You have to be intentional about what you want to do, and as I said before, the church in its wisdom, in her wisdom rather, has all the supporting stuff. We don't always avail ourselves to it. One, maybe for a myriad of reasons. But as I alluded to earlier, we need to be aware first. And I'm really, really happy that we are part, or we are being made aware a little more in preparation for the Jubilee year. And that in this, we can't be selfish in keeping, because our eyes were open. What about everybody's eyes who closed?
yes.
I mean, we have that responsibility as well. Like, what do we do from here? The how. I mean, we'll figure out all them parts when we go back to our communities, mountaintop experience, go back, live in the communities. Easier said than done. And that is awesome. But I'm also really, really a bit more concerned, what are we doing on a more holistic level, as from the artist level, to be able to push to really do the preparation. This is the awareness stage for me, but the preparation, really and truly meaningful preparation, to allow everyone to really experience that Jubilee and say, wow, thank you, Lord.
Yeah. So, I mean, hearing you say that, I'm just wondering if at a family level, seeing that family is like a base unit of community, if there are things that could happen at the family level that could help increase the level of awareness, not just about plenary indulgences, but about the doors, about sacred sites, about the understanding of our faith in general. Do you think that families can better engage with its members to help bring about better awareness?
And I agree. I think absolutely. I feel that's a very good starting point. At Epiphany, normally you put up over the door, I don't know if you're the initials of the three magi, and that is a kind of door for the entrance of the new church year. I don't know, not church year, but the new year. And I think in families, you can establish a door, just like you do a creche at Christmas, and you have a symbol, or the Advent wreath at Advent. I think that the family could sit up and decide what their Jubilee symbol will be, with the inclusion of everybody.
Yeah, because this morning too, I was having that discussion with my daughter, because I live with my daughter and one of my grands, and we were saying, you know, you think you understand what is Jubilee? I said, you know, when I come back, we'll have a little more discussion, because I've learned much more than what I came, the knowledge I came with. But in preparing and thinking about stuff, and as you said, as families can make an impression in your own home, set aside a little area, just like how we do for the, put up a little chapel or whatever. Set aside an area that you could walk into and have that conversation, that when you're ready with God, have a little prayer time, just a little quiet moments in God's presence. And we know that, see that corner over there? That's the holy door.
Right.
Yeah. And even like I start teaching my little 4-year-old to say the rosary. So she's aware how to hold the rosary, how to say it, and that kind of thing. So she would know now that corner there is a corner to go and pray. So that we could do it in families, and what you learn and what was taught in churches, what your parishes decide to have educational programs for the parishioners. We could take that back, of course, to our homes.
Yeah. And in everyday secular symbols, when a bride and groom gets married, the groom lifts the bride over the threshold, and it's a symbol that they are walking into a new life together. Yes. And so a family could decide, well, what will be our symbol that will take us as a family into this Jubilee year and then beyond,
And be creative.
Create that.
And it would also take it outside of church. So
takes it outside of church as well.
Not only limited to the Jubilee on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it becomes a lived reality as well.
That's right.
In our lives outside of Sunday.
Yes.
I really love this group of people. I really love you all. And
You didn't say that last week.
I didn't say that last week. I said it this week though.
We love being
and how really contribute so richly and beautifully and help to feed off each other's energies and contributions. It's really beautiful. I'm sure the viewers at home have been enlightened and enjoy the conversation as well. So thank you for being on set with us.
Thank you for having us.
Could we ask you, how you plan to celebrate the Jubilee? Quickly.
I haven't given it much thought yet. If I'm being honest, by saying yes to being the host for this month.
You are doing your part. You have opened your doors there.
That's your door open there.
Correct, because I don't normally do this.
And that's a plenary indulgence there one time, right?
Very good job.
Plenary indulgence.
Thank you as well to our viewers at home. Thank you to Father Don. Please join us again next week, Monday at 8 p.m. live on Trinity TV, as well as on our Facebook profiles, Catholic TT and Trinity TV. Thank you again, and see you next week.
If you can raise your eyes to the horizons of renewal and restoration, if you can open your ears to the voice of the Beloved, who calls you to hope and not despair, if you can reach out and forgive, heal and restore in spite of the hurt and darkness, then you will realize a jubilee of hope and restoration for our world. And you would have made a journey of hope. Come, join us in this pilgrimage of hope as it becomes a reality in the life of the Church. And truly, it will be a jubilee to celebrate.